Couple things to start with. First of all, the purpose for the meeting today was the transfer request. And I think that we're going to not actually entertain it today. And I'll tell you why as we go, and I'll explain everything that I found out and everything that nobody knows. So I think what we're going to want to do is postpone considering this until we can get somebody from maybe the planning board coming in and talking to us about what's going on. There are some things which need to be explained. The second thing is that when I was up at Town Hall, we got another request which is not a formal request yet. It's from the Board of Health. And in it, they note that there is somebody in town with tuberculosis. And the Board of Health is required by law to see to their well-being, just in some sense, for a period of up to 9 months. And that includes visits from a visiting nurse 3 times a week, up to 3 times a week, for up to a 9-month period. And the visiting nurse budget is $400. And there has been one visit already, and it was, I think, $35 a visit. So yes. No, they can go a few weeks. So I had a discussion with.
Would this be like a supplement to whatever they're already
we
eligible for, or their own insurance, or?
That I don't know. All that they say in here is that the Massachusetts law requires the Board of Health to see them through this process for a period of up to 9 months. It's all very vague beyond that. So I said to Chris that it was unlikely that we would want to just transfer 9 months worth of expenses, but that what we ought to do is ask them to, there was no budget put together for any of this. We ought to ask them to put a budget together and to present us a budget and make the budget for something like 5 months or so, 5 or 6 months, because we're not going to have any problem covering this. Mm-hmm. But it'll give them time to assess the situation and find out if they look like they're going to be on schedule to need 9 months, or whether something else happens, rather than transfer the money over there and then not ever be needed. So if you're in agreement with that, what I'll do is I'll call Dick Bombardier and tell him that, and ask him if he can prepare a budget along those lines for us. And then sort of depending upon what he says, be optional as to whether or not he actually had to come to our meeting. From what I got today, I don't think it'd be necessary, given this is a legal matter, but I'll ask him a couple questions.
That makes sense.
Now, this thing. Turns out that, if you read the material that I sent, they said there are high voltage lines up over the street, and that's deemed to be a potential hazard.
When you say high voltage, we're not talking about the big metal towers that.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
I don't know what it is.
High voltage to me
I don't know
like, power grid passing by,
Well, I think it's the lines that bring electricity into the park.
Okay.
So it's just like normal power coming in.
I don't know if it's normal. Maybe, but that I don't know. It's one of the things which is not known from anything that was said so far. Here's the thing. This question about things that come to the Finance Committee for a transfer request are supposed to be unanticipated and the ordinary and not covered in the budget and so on. It's been there since 1960 when we acquired Dufresne Park, and it was known when we acquired Dufresne Park. So this has been around for a long time. It's not clear what started the process of changing this. And it's not clear about the authorization for a lot of it. Now, here are a couple of the things. from what was said in their information to us, these 3 phases, the last 2 phases, they think are going to cost $19,500. And it's not clear when phase 1 was done, but what it looks like, from the nearest people can tell from gathering some past records, is that phase 1 might have been done in 2015. And it might have been done by spending, there's a woman, I think it was Marie Court, who left $12,800 or so to the town for purposes of upgrading Dufresne Park and doing things. And that's what was spent in 2015 by some notations. And for the notations, there are
This is from the Dufresne's Park Committee, or this is from, what department are we
There-
talking about?
well, the Parks Oversight Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get into that in a minute. But there are 11 notations that add up to about $12,800. There is backup material for 4 of the 11, for a total of about $4,000 out of that amount. And the backup material is all for, basically all for our electrician's cost. So, and together, that puts it at $31,000, $32,000 as a project. It's not clear that you can get around the laws of having to either get actual bids or at least telephone bids in some cases, once a project is above a certain amount of money, and I think it's been raised to $25,000. But anyway, $30,000 is clearly in the range where you ought to be asking around rather than just awarding a contract. It does not appear that that was done, including the closest they come to this was there is a piece of paper here from the Town of Granby Parks Oversight Committee which says request for a proposal bid for electrical work at Dufresne Park, Granby, Massachusetts, dated in 2015. But it's not clear that a request for proposal ever went out. This is the only record that anybody seems to have is this little first page here that says such a thing, but it doesn't actually have any record of a proposal going out or any record of responses coming
So is
back in.
it signed by the current electrician? Is that
Yes,
it, or-
yes.
There's no backup.
Well,
to the other-
it's not signed by him, but his name is on here as a number. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, it is signed by Rick, yeah.
And there's no backup for the 8 of the 12.
Not that anybody was able to give me at the town hall.
And these are high voltage lines, and it's not in question whether or not the responsibility of the utility versus the responsibility of the park, because typically high voltage is responsibility of the utility, not the park.
Right, this is for after it comes into the park.
I'm thinking,
But they were
The
we're not
lines that
talking
come to my
metal poles,
house
we're
that are on my
talking
property
telephones.
are the responsibility of the utility. If I have a tree fall and a line comes down to high voltage, the utility's gonna come in and replace that line and fix that line.
But I mean, we also have a problem here of A, no bid, B, who's
Yeah.
responsible, and C, awarding the bid to this particular electrician is conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Well, let me address some of these things. I don't know where the town's responsibility starts on this and where the electrical company's ends.
Mhm.
And that's a kind of a question which I think we should be asking. I know in our house, we had the voltage doubled a few years back, and that was our responsibility to put in the wire across the driveway. I think the electric company's responsibility, I think, stopped at the telephone pole that was on the outer edge of
You
my
get the
property.
first pole, don't you?
You get the one to the, right before your house, from the last pole to your home, that termination is your responsibility. So mine, we had put underground, so we had to have that done with an electrician, bring it
Yeah.
underground to the house.
Yeah.
My driveway's a quarter mile long, so believe me, I have a lot of wires down all the
Yeah,
time, so
yeah.
utility's always coming in to fix them, so.
The work that seems to be needed is, as a matter of fact, some of it has been done, is that they apparently, they dug trenches and put in some conduits but no actual wires into the conduits. And I don't know where that started, where it ended. I mean, that's the kind of thing which we don't know. And that apparently was part of phase one, as near as we can tell. It's okay to have the work done by an electrician who's an official of the town, or not an official, but an inspector of the town, as long as the rest of the procedures are followed, and as long as he's not responsible for approving his own work.
That's not what the statute says. But, I mean, the only reason I bring it up is probably, I think the best thing to do here would be say, look, first, you need to get more than this is one bid. That's just financially prudent. And B, it might be a good idea if, but that's not what 268A says.
Well, this, okay.
It might be a good idea if they also go to town council and get an opinion.
Yeah, I took your email
Yeah.
to me and clicked on that, and this is what came up. This is just a piece of what comes, it's a
Yeah.
long thing.
Yeah.
This is a piece that comes up.
So,
And so the work is not approved by him. It's approved by our actual inspector. He's an assistant.
no, against the guy, I'm just saying,
Oh, yeah, right.
it seemed prudent that we would get town council opinion about it, signing off on it, and just, the bids. Follow a format, we have a policy here, come in with bids, especially for requests for transfers, and this should be one of those things.
So why is this up to us to, like, help them out with this?
Well,
Just because we don't sign off?
here's the,
Because we have to.
here's where we come
Where's
into,
Chris?
here's where we come into some of the little quirks here. The committee is not an elected committee. They're appointed. They're appointed by the select board. So, and there's a revolving fund budget, which they have.
$10,000 a year or something?
No, I think it was a total of about $20,000 that they had for the revolving fund. The revolving fund currently has about $21,000 in it, so it's funded through revolving fund. If they need additional money than that, they have to come to the town, one way or the other. Now, I don't know what the situation was with the funds that were left to them, or who the funds were left to, the 12.8 that was left. I don't know anything at all about who authorizes money to be spent from there. Any process that has to be gone through. That is also a completely unknown piece. But in order to get additional money, they have to go and ask the select. They can't ask us because none of them are elected officials, and only elected officials can make a transfer request. So they have to go to the select board. They went to the select board, and the select board knows just about, maybe not quite as much as was here. And so agreed to have Chris send a transfer request to the finance committee. The options are transfer request to the committee or to wait for a special town meeting. Some more of the kind of complications that it is. They said in their little cover letter that it's going to be a liability for the town. Well, not everybody agrees with that.
Well, it's been around
It's been there for all these years, yeah.
Right.
Why is it suddenly a liability now?
What has changed?
Are the
What has
deals
changed?
starting to pull out of it?
So,
the urgency is.
but at any rate, that whole question about whether or not it's a liability and whether or not the liability changes are issues which nobody has an official legal answer on.
But notwithstanding all that, it seems appropriate that they get more than just a single bid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's
Especially
$30,000 project.
coupled with that the only bid comes from a guy who's the assistant electrical inspector. That seems a little.
Yeah, I really object to saying that, well, you've got a project here, and we're going to break it up into 3 projects,
Yeah.
each of which falls under the guideline. It's like saying, well, we're gonna go out to bid for a foundation for a school. And we're not gonna worry about getting bids because it's for an additional school. We're gonna worry about it because it's under $25,000. And, we know we gotta build something on top of it to actually be useful, but so what? This is a separate project. Well, that's not right. That's not right.
So did the select board make any recommendations?
Yeah,
Do you
what
think
did
this is a
they
great
say?
thing, or no, or they just?
Their
passed it
recommendation
to you
was to pass it on to us.
Okay. So the select board is delegating decision on it to us, and
Well, they don't have, well, they could, in fact, deny
Yeah.
the request. But,
So does that de facto mean that they approve it?
no, they're not approving it, they're passing it on to us.
they have questions. They asked the question about bids, and they were not given the answer.
Okay.
So, they're in the dark about a few things.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a process for bids, we should be following that.
Yeah.
We do, we have process bids.
Yeah, and I think that we probably all agree that this is an amount of money which requires
Yeah, I'd
more than just to say, let's hire somebody.
I'd move we return the transfer request to the selectmen with the request that the park commission obtain 3 bids and then resubmit it.
Well, I think that we don't have to return to them, but I think what we want to do is, I want to have another meeting and have a couple people come in and talk to us. Not, it may or may not be somebody from this committee, but it may be Lou and maybe Billy.
Mhm.
They come in, they've been involved in this at different times over the years. So, but somebody's going to come and give some people some background. It's at the edge of the amount of money which we usually like to think about. Is,
But the other thing I think I
between us
saw
and-
was.
They're asking 13 and a half. They've got, they have about 6,000 after.
Okay, fine, if they
Yeah.
have 19.5, they were asking,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's gonna get them to the end of the project?
That's going to get them through phase 2. Their claim is that phase 3 is not going to be their cost because phase 3 is taking down old telephone poles and getting rid of them. And those belong to the electric company. That's what they said in the cover letter.
Yeah, and I would just, and I'd love to know just who owns the wire, right? And who's responsible for it in this?
How can the poles be owned by the utility and the wire be owned by the owner? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me, that's why the question, you know?
I mean, my daughter has a very extensive driveway, and, we got into it, she had to buy poles, and, you get the first one for free, and then you gotta pay the
Yeah,
rest.
you get it, yeah, once it's on your property, it's
Right.
yours,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
But,
And-
it sounds a little,
And the one that's on your property, the first one, all you're doing really is you're giving them an easement
right.
for it, so.
Yeah, my note said there were in fact no bids on phase 1, and no answer was given to the question about phase 2.
But we can't be, I mean, if we asked to have 2 other bids, like you said, you can make a phone call, right? Have the guy, this is the scope of the work, can you come over and give me an estimate? How long could that delay it?
Mhm.
A week, 2 weeks?
I'd love to understand the urgency of it too.
Yeah.
And what potential risk there is associated with not doing it today versus going through the process.
I think here's what I think the urgency was. I think the urgency was that the electrician looked like he was going to have some time this winter to get started on it. And they want to try to use this scare tactic of a liability claim to say that if this isn't done by time of next June, that the charter days shouldn't be held,
Yeah.
which is stupid.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we're for it or against it, but I think we don't have anywhere near enough
I
information
don't
to
think it's a
tell.
matter, it's not a matter of for or against.
Right.
It's a matter of,
Right.
there's a policy and a procedure to follow. Getting bids, follow policy and procedure,
And-
and I'd add to that, it doesn't hurt to check in with town council, make sure there's not a conflict of interest here that would void it, period.
And I'd like to understand the liability and who actually owns what.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp there.
Yeah.
It's important to know.
We were paying for something that we don't need to.
He might actually be the lowest bidder, there may not be any conflict of interest, in which case everything is great,
Yeah.
but, you gotta follow protocol.
And the whole thing just is a little bit funny, being broken up into 3 pieces, all the pieces that fall below. It's,
Especially working for the town, I mean, it's like extra, I mean, gotta go out of your way to follow the rules, I would think.
Mhm.
Yeah, we ought to hear what they say, but Chris was of the opinion that they were okay on that, because of, but that's, it's not the question.
That's not our call, it's just,
We bring it up and
observation.
they said, yeah, we checked it out, this and this and this.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, town council said it was okay, great.
we want some opinions with some reasons. And we'd like to know what in fact is happening here. Okay, so let us not make this a proposal yet. Let's wait until we hear, and then decide whether or not they should bother sending us a proposal, or whether or not it's something, after we hear everything, we may decide that, since this is in that gray area, whether it's bigger than we'd like to deal with without the town hearing all about it, whether it should go to a special town meeting, whenever the next one is. Anybody have any comments on that?
no, I'm good.
Okay. That is all I have for tonight. I asked Chris whether there were any special town meetings anticipated in the near future for anything, and he said there's nothing.
When are we gonna ramp back up again in terms of budget and stuff like that?
I suspected, I hadn't asked, I suspect it'll be February. Again.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm not pushing to get us involved any sooner than we really have to for the amount of time that it takes. And that's about it.
Great.
Cool.
Okay, take a motion to
Thank you.
adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.